Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello, this is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. I truly appreciate all the shares of this podcast. Welcome to Truman's Town Hall for this June 22nd, 2023. A lot of news is happening. Let's see. There's a lot of talk about Dr. Peter Hotez debating RFK Jr. Here's just a little snippet of Peter Hotez, just a little.
One of the things that we're not hearing a lot about is the unique potential safety problem of coronavirus vaccines.
And then something changed.
Any vaccine released by emergency use authorization by the FDA is an outstanding vaccine.
J&J's vaccine has a risk of life-threatening blood clots.
When you hear the beep, that's the sound of safety.
So don't overthink it. They're both really good. They're all really good vaccines. Get vaccinated now.
You gotta call now.
If you wait, it's going to be really too late to protect your child.
If this was your child, what happens next could make it the worst day of your life.
So even though COVID poses zero threat to healthy children,
Vaccinate your children.
Do the right thing. Be safe and not sorry.
I'm strongly recommending for adolescents to get their 2 doses of vaccine and fully immunized after those 2 doses.
Advanced technology that can help save lives.
This is going to be a long-lasting vaccine.
A few moments later.
We're seeing that 2 doses is not holding up well for emergency room visits. It's not holding up well for hospitalizations.
Here we go again.
Everyone's going to need a booster. You need that 3rd immunization.
Triple the amount.
Get that 3rd immunization. The 2 mRNA vaccines were always a 3-dose vaccine. I've always said this is a 3-dose vaccine. This is a 3-dose vaccine.
But I'm not done yet.
That 3rd immunization, the problem is it's not holding up. So we may have to look at sort of innovative solutions.
Oh God, not this again.
A 4th immunization, just to keep them going, keep the country going. We have to consider some out of the box things. A 4th immunization, get that second boost. A second boost to keep the country going. I've made that recommendation. A 4th immunization.
But I'm still not done.
One semester later.
Unfortunately, the numbers are starting to trend up again. So the hospitalizations are up. And so the most important message that I have this morning is get your new bivalent booster.
Willie and Lise were saying they got their booster, and I was like, oh, I need to get mine. And then I found out they're talking about the 3rd shot. And is that the bivalent, or is it the 4th booster, or does it matter?
Don't worry so much about the number of...
There's no wrong way to use it.
You have to get it. This new bivalent booster...
You can double or triple stack them.
The new bivalent one is doing a much better job. You have to get a booster.
Yeah.
You need to get this new bivalent booster. That bivalent booster for COVID.
But does everyone ages 12 and older need a booster?
The answer is yes. Yes. And by the way, if you're over 50 and have gotten 2 boosters and more than 2 to 4 months out, you're going to need a 3rd booster as well, a 5th immunization.
5.
I don't think we're going to need an annual booster like flu.
Eventually.
Dr. Hotez supports yearly boosters, just like flu.
But I'm still not done.
It looks as though the boosters are not holding up quite as well as we'd like. And I think our thinking is going to change, and that what's going to happen is every, few months, we may need another booster.
Perfect results each and every time.
We just could not overcome that massive disinformation campaign, these fake concepts of herd immunity and discrediting masks.
Dr. Hotez, you are a national treasure.
It is picking off young people like we've never seen.
Dr. Peter Hotez, that was extremely informative.
Disinformation that you're hearing, that kids are fine, it's nonsense. Kids need to get that vaccination.
You healthcare workers have been our saviors.
Watch out for that misinformation.
Dr. Peter Hotez is probably one of the smartest people on this topic.
If you haven't gotten your 5 and up vaccinated yet, now's the time to do that.
Dr. Peter Hotez Hotez, thank you for saving the world.
They also support giving that third immunization for the 12 to 17-year-olds.
People have to feel safe.
Dr. Hotez, you are a voice of reason.
Take down the fake information, these fake concepts of herd immunity. Our last hope is to vaccinate our way through this. Make certain that everybody's vaccinated, including their kids. That's the single most important thing right now the American people have to do.
Dr. Peter Hotez was the person that we like to go to for this sort of expertise.
The single most impactful thing you can do is make certain that you're fully boosted and preferably 2 boosted.
Well, that was Dr. Peter Hotez. You are a hero. Nope, that's probably why RFK Jr. will not be debating Dr. Peter Hotez on the Joe Rogan Experience. That was something that was put out when RFK appeared on Rogan. Hotez has appeared on Rogan before, and Rogan said, well, you're fat, basically, and we don't trust you. You ever hear that Charlie Daniels song where he says, I'm going to kick old Green Teeth right in the knee? When I look at Dr. Peter, it reminds me of that song because he looks like he has green teeth. If you look at this guy, he clearly doesn't take care of himself, but he's the paramount voice of reason when it comes to COVID-19. And now we all are starting to see and wake up to the misinformation that was provided to us by all the, quote, experts throughout the country and the world. What about the World Health Organization? The WHO? The World Health Organization. The WHO? No, I'm just kidding. That was one of those who's on first, what's on second. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of news happened this week. Did you hear that Hunter Biden is going to be charged for allegedly tax evasion?
Well, President Joe Biden's son has reached a plea deal now in a years-long federal investigation. Hunter Biden has reached a tentative deal on 2 tax offenses and 1 firearm charge.
Oh, yeah. Old boy is going to get himself in a little bit of trouble. Just a little bit. Had this been you or me, our butts would be going to jail. That's right. Had it been you or me, and we destroyed thumb drives or zip drives or computers or cell phones like Hillary Clinton did, our butts would be going to jail. If it were you and I who worked for the government and we destroyed government property that was potentially part of an investigation, you and I would be going to jail. There is a 2-tier justice system here in the United States, and it's time that we all wake up to it. Folks, we're losing our country. The rights of the American people are being trampled by those in the political class, those at the top running our country are definitely above the law. Definitely. Those who are related to the... Oh, but Matt, what about Trump? Well, what about Trump? He did get charged. Oh, but that's right. He's running for president again. The deep state, the Democrats, many Republicans don't like Trump. He is a populist that folks are not able to support. We live in a 2-tiered justice system, folks. Wesley Snipes spent over 2 years in prison. The actor, Wesley Snipes, Blade. You know him. White Men Can't Jump. Great movies. Great actor. Don't know him personally. Don't know him on that end. But he's a great actor. And I enjoyed watching him on the silver screen. Anyway, 2.5 years. And he was a famous actor. This is the president's son. He gets this easy plea deal. Yeah, but Matt, a Trump appointee, it doesn't matter, folks. They're all connected. Look at all the people that Trump appointed to different positions that are now his enemy. He made some of these people famous. They wouldn't be working today hadn't it been for President Trump, or they wouldn't be working in their positions. that they currently have. Just name one. They're getting a lot of money for speaking engagements and all. I mean, come on. Anyway, according to the Daily Beast, a left-wing rag, Marjorie Taylor Greene calls Boebert a little bitch on the House floor. That is Representative from Colorado, Lauren Boebert. Wow, folks, we live in strange times. From Axios, House votes to censure Trump antagonist Adam Schiff. The House on Wednesday voted largely alongside party lines to pass a Republican measure censuring Representative Adam Schiff. Well, a censure. Bad boy, that's what that is. NBC News, Biden calls Xi a dictator fueling Chinese anger. The president's comments came a day after Secretary of State Anthony Blinken traveled to Beijing in an effort to calm tensions. Yeah, he said basically, you guys can take Taiwan. We're not going to stop you. We believe in the one China policy, which includes China and practically the entire China Sea that butts up to Japan. Blinken promised this on camera for all to see, and then Biden calls their leader a dictator. Gosh, this guy's dumber than a box of rocks. Did you hear him say, God save the Queen? We're the United States of America, former colony of Great Britain. And this guy has the nerve as president, commander-in-chief, to say, God save the Queen. And she's been dead for how many months? Come on, folks. Wake up! Have you guys heard about this boat? This, they call it a submersible that went down to go view the Titanic. They do this kind of thing. And they're stuck down there. Did you guys hear about that? They're calling it the Titanic 2. The U.S. Sun. Find them. Missing Titanic submarine updates. U.S. ship to arrive at wreck today and race against clock as under 20 hours of air is left. That's not long, folks. That is not long. Well, keep those folks in your prayers, because I tell you what, there's a few deaths that I don't want to experience. So don't get any ideas. But being on fire. I remember seeing that video where that Jordanian pilot crashed or was shot down by ISIS and then was burned in that cage. Oh my God, that was horrible. Drowning. I know this is going to all revolve around war, but drowning would be horrible. I remember seeing tanks in Iraq and stuff fall into rivers and all the soldiers inside died. I was in a Mat V that rolled over into a creek, but thank goodness the creek was not that wide. It was just their storm drains were just ditches on the side of the road, and we rolled over into it. But the vehicle was wide, so it spread the span of it. A little water got in, but it wasn't crazy. I was like, this is not the way I want to go after I woke up from being knocked out. Anyway, being trapped in a submersible underwater, either drowning with water coming in or suffocating to death, would be an awful way to go. So let's keep them in our prayers. I know people are, well, it's a billionaire. Those are people. Speaking of BlackRock, did you see what James O'Keefe did? Listen to this.
They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it.
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people.
I work for a company called BlackRock.
Meet Serge Varley, a recruiter at BlackRock.
Let me tell you, it's not who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds,
for-profit banks. These guys want campaign financing. Yep, you can buy your candidates. Obviously, we have the system in place. First, there's the senators. And these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now. No questions asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it's done.
Does everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
It doesn't matter who wins.
They're so good.
They're in my pocket at this point.
Here's Serge Varley on how good war is for BlackRock's business.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine-Russia war?
Yeah, I mean, I do have thoughts.
What are they?
Ukraine is good for business. You know that, right? I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. Price of wheat's gonna go mad up. Ukrainian economy is tied very largely to the wheat market, global wheat market. Prices of bread, literally everything goes up and down. This is fantastic if you're trading. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. War is real good for business. It's exciting when goes wrong, right? BlackRock manages 20 trillion. It's incomprehensible numbers.
BlackRock Serge Varley says all of this is above a normal person's understanding.
You're like an undercover reporter. I don't know. No people don't give a shit. This is beyond them. The whole thing of domination from a concept is just so interesting.
Hi, I'm James O'Keefe with OMG News. Here we are with our latest story, this time on BlackRock, one of the world's leading asset and investment managers, which owns significant shares of companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Anheuser-Busch, Meta, Target, Procter & Gamble, Comcast, CNN, Fox, and yes, Pfizer, just to name a few. At OMG, we do not shy away from exposing powerful companies, and we're not afraid of powerful people. So we decided to take a look for ourselves at the influence BlackRock has on our politics and the influence they have on our culture. So to do that, what better place to start a hidden camera investigation than into a self-described gatekeeper at BlackRock?
If you have a Twitter account, go to @James O'Keefe III. JAMES, capital O, capital K, EEFEIII. Go check that story out. It's huge. Everyone, if you're on Twitter, share that story. I'm actually going to retweet it right now. As we speak, I just retweeted that story. You can follow me if you want @Truman Doc on Twitter. TRUMAN capital DOC. Come follow me over on Twitter if you would. If you enjoy the podcast, also like, subscribe, leave us comments. You could leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart. Yeah, leave us a review too. That would be awesome. It would totally help us out a lot, getting more folks to listen. All right, speaking of media, with OMG, that's a great name, OMG. I kind of like that better than Project Veritas. Anyway, another media organization, Simon & Schuster, draws bid from investor backed by Abu Dhabi-based sovereign fund. This is out of the Wall Street Journal. Richard Horowitz, an investor and author, has partnered with Mudala Investment Company on a bid for the book publisher. That's going to be a huge deal. Abu Dhabi, those fellers are taking over everything. China and Abu Dhabi are going to run the world. Here's something out of Ohio. Ohio woman accused of impersonating a CPS worker and luring a child. Ohio authorities arrested a woman after she allegedly attempted to lure a 4-year-old boy from his front yard. Home security footage shows Lisa Nargrelli, 44, walk up and wrap her arms around the boy sitting on his orange bicycle. Nargrelli strokes the child's back and his hair for minutes while she talks to him. According to the boy's mother, Jamie Spradlin, Norkelly told her son that there was a really pretty car seat for him in her black car. It creeps us out a little bit. It's gut-wrenching, Tim Spaulding, the boy's father, told WCPO after watching the surveillance footage. Folks, these creeps are everywhere. These creeps are everywhere. Protect your kids. Oh, man, so many people are coming after our kids. Dr. Hotez, shoot them up. If they're above 5, shoot them up with that experimental poison. Crazy, man. On all levels. Epstein. Man, all you got to do is listen to or watch Tim Ballard. I talked about that last podcast. It's crazy, dude. They're out everywhere. Did you hear about the father in Claremont County, Ohio, who executed his 3 sons, 7, 4, and 3? What in the world possesses anyone to hurt children? I have no idea. I don't believe in the death penalty, but I tell you what, I would probably sacrifice my salvation if somebody hurt one of my kids. I'll just put it like that. Did you hear that Greta Thunberg deleted a tweet, the climate activist? She's over 18, so I can talk about it now. I wouldn't bust her chops when she was a kid. They don't have a lot of sense a lot of times. And she still doesn't, because she deleted this tweet. A top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years. Well, we're there, and it didn't wipe out humanity. Has anything climate-wise changed in the last 5 years? No. And then the last 5 years, we had Trump, who deregulated a lot of that stuff. America! Did you hear about Putin showing a peace deal that he almost had done, but then Boris Johnson came in to squash it? The former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. I'll try to read what he said while he says it. The project of this peace deal with Ukrainians was initiated by the head of the negotiations from Kiev. He signed it. Here it is. It exists. And he shows it to the crowd. He signed it. Here it is. It is called the Agreement on Permanent Neutrality and Safety Guarantees to Ukraine. Guarantees, like you already said, my dear friend, President of the Republic of South Africa. He's talking to the African leaders. 18 articles. Moreover, there is an annex to this. I won't go into the details now. It has to do with the military and other things. It's all there in black and white. It was initialed by the Kiev delegation. The signature is there. But after we, as promised, drew our troops away from Kiev, the Kiev authorities, just as their owners usually do, threw it all into the rubbish heap of history. I'm putting it mildly and trying to be polite. They turned it down. Where are the guarantees that they won't give up any other agreements? You had peace, and then you didn't have peace, according to Vladimir Putin. Why do we want to continue this war? Why is NATO continuing to supply Ukraine with all these weapons? I don't know, folks. I don't want to see war with the United States and Russia. I don't want to see war with the United States and China or Iran or Syria or anyone. I would love to see peace in this world. Why can't we all just live peaceably among each other? I just don't understand it. We kind of opened this podcast with Hunter Biden, and I'm going to close with Tucker Carlson's last episode, episode 5 over on Twitter. Tucker on Twitter. Go check it out. It's excellent. But I'm going to play the entire episode. And that's how we're going to close this podcast out.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This spring, word began to circulate in Washington that the House Oversight Committee, under its new chairman, Congressman Jamie Comer, had discovered criminal behavior after reviewing thousands of pages of the Biden family's bank records. Now, publicly, to the extent they responded at all, the White House dismissed the investigation as, of course, politically motivated. In any case, irrelevant. Hunter Biden was an adult, so his business dealings had nothing at all to do with his father, in this case, the President of the United States. But in private, everybody understood it wasn't quite that simple. There has long been overwhelming evidence that Joe and Hunter Biden's financial lives are not separate at all, but deeply intertwined. On Hunter Biden's laptop, there's a suggestion that the two of them even at one point shared a bank account. And of course, Hunter Biden wrote himself that he kicked back cash from his foreign business deals to his father. He wrote that bitterly. So the Oversight Committee's investigation was potentially a disaster for the White House, a scandal, possibly even the prelude to criminal charges. So in order to get ahead of all of that, Joe Biden's handlers did the one thing they could do. They set up an MSNBC interview to preemptively whitewash whatever Jamie Comer might find. Here's the results of that. This aired on May 5th.
Sir, there is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him. And it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Okay, time for the master class. For free, you can audit it. Here it goes. Sir, showing appropriate respect, says the shill, there is something personal that's affecting you. Note the wording. Personal, not of public concern, nothing law enforcement might be interested in, but personal, a sad family tragedy. That's the framing. And then this, a sentence choreographed to the letter. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. Got that? Well, there's no tie to you. So the answer is, in fact, in the question. Whatever Hunter Biden goes down for, and we know he is going to be charged because MSNBC said so, but when that happens, that's Hunter's problem. It's got nothing to do with Joe Biden. Rest easy, America. 5 days later, the Oversight Committee released its findings, and they were, in fact, devastating. Quote, bank records show the Biden family, their business associates, and their companies, their many companies, received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their related companies, the committee wrote. Investigators had, quote, identified payments to Biden family members from foreign companies while Joe Biden served as vice president and after he left public office. So actually there was something there. It was a scandal. Racketeering, money laundering, wire fraud, those are some of the crimes the Bidens seem to have committed, in addition, of course, to selling out the United States for cash. So what would happen to them? Well, Donald Trump had an idea, quote, they'll hit Hunter with something small to make their strike on me look fair. Trump wrote that about 2 weeks ago, and it turned out those were prescient words. This morning, Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to pretty much nothing. Biden pled to 2 misdemeanor tax evasion charges, then entered a diversion on a federal gun charge. That's it. As far as Merrick Garland's Justice Department is concerned, Hunter Biden is done. There was no pre-dawn raid carried live simultaneously on CNN. There was no perp walk, no handcuffs, no press conference. Above all, there was no felony. Hunter Biden, who broke federal gun laws, can still carry a gun. It's like it all never happened. In fact, the Justice Department just baptized Hunter Biden. A lifetime of sins washed away in an instant. It was a secular miracle. Most miraculous of all, Hunter Biden somehow escaped a FARA charge. FARA is the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and it is exactly what its name suggests. Under federal law, if you are acting as an agent of a foreign nation in Washington, you are required to register with our government to let everybody know. Well, for decades, pretty much nobody in Washington did register under FARA, and precisely no one was ever prosecuted for it. No one. But starting several years ago, the Justice Department began sending people to prison on FARA violations. The official explanation was, we're cracking down on foreign influence in Washington. And of course, privately, everyone in Washington laughed. They knew that was absurd.
In fact, it's the opposite of the truth. Foreign powers have never had more power in Washington. Their agents are everywhere, in every federal agency and throughout business, down to and including in executive positions at various social media companies. The Biden administration knows all of this, and it's not a problem. In fact, it's their policy. From the administration's perspective, the concerns and the demands of, say, the Chinese government, or particularly the Ukrainian government, are far more important than the needs of American voters. We're cracking down on foreign influence. Please. The point, the only point of enforcing FARA after decades of ignoring it, is to harass and imprison high-profile political opponents. Trump donor Elliot Broidy pled to a FARA violation a few years ago. So did Trump campaign manager, famously Paul Manafort. He went to prison. Last year, the DOJ went after Trump confidant Steve Wynn under FARA. But in the end, the Biden administration overreached so comically that the whole thing was thrown out by a judge. But they tried. So as long as they're trying, if it was a fair system, Hunter Biden would be first on the list of those next to be charged with a FARA violation. In fact, many of them. Hunter Biden was a foreign agent. He never registered as one. But for years, that's exactly what he was. He sold access to his father and other lawmakers to the Chinese and the Ukrainians and countries throughout the world. There's no debate about that. The FBI has known about it for years. For years, they've had possession of Hunter Biden's laptop. But they didn't charge him for it today. They never will. Why? Well, you know the answer. Hunter Biden has good genes. A more interesting question, though, which is another question the feds will never consider, is what does Hunter Biden do for a living now? This is a man with no obvious job and, of course, zero skills. He spent midlife smoking crack. Yet somehow he's managed to live pretty well despite rising inflation. He's been living in big houses in the costliest residential neighborhoods in the world. He's been paying his stripper baby mama $20,000 a month in child support. And he has retained a team of the most expensive lawyers in the country who spend quite a bit of time sending threatening letters to anyone who asks questions about how they're being paid. We can confirm that firsthand. So again, what does Hunter Biden do for work? That's a fair question. And today we have the answer. For years, Hunter Biden was an influence peddler. Now, Hunter Biden is a self-actualizer. He self-actualizes for a living. He gets in touch with himself, his feelings, and he follows his muse. Here he is explaining his new vocation in a 2019 ABC News interview.
This is new.
Yeah.
Studio.
Yeah.
But now he's opening the doors to a place never captured by a paparazzi's lens. His refuge, an art studio where he finds solace in painting.
What's the goal eventually?
No goal. That's the perfect part about it. It literally keeps me sane.
His refuge, far from the paparazzi's lens. In other words, we're not the paparazzi, we're ABC News. What's the goal of this? Your refuge. There's no goal, he says, grinning with those fake teeth. It just keeps me sane. But actually, there was a goal. And if you didn't know what a virtuous person Hunter Biden was, you might think it looked a lot like money laundering. 2 years after that interview, Hunter Biden was selling prints of his art. And to be clear, just the prints, not the, quote, art itself, but effectively photocopies of it for $75,000 a pop. Apparently, Hunter Biden moved 5 of these repros in just days. That's $375,000 in less than a week for signing copies of your fake art. As for the paintings themselves, childish self-indulgent blots, those sold for $500,000 a piece. So the question is, who bought them and why? It'd be interesting to know. There's a story there for sure, but of course we have no right to know. There's no public policy implication. It's not like Hunter Biden's finances have anything to do with his father's finances. Meanwhile, once his father did become president, corporate publisher Simon & Schuster lined up as well to pay Hunter Biden's bills. According to news reports, Simon & Schuster gave Hunter Biden millions of dollars for his highly selective account of his wholly unaccomplished life. And then the publisher lined up brainless celebrity endorsers like Dave Eggers and Stephen King to promote it. King, who apparently will say anything if it helps the party, called Hunter Biden's silly manuscript a, quote, harrowing and compulsively readable memoir. And then Stephen King described Hunter Biden himself as beautiful. Needless to say, the book sold miserably, but Hunter Biden got to keep the millions, and that was the point. and so on. This kind of thing apparently happened a lot. Again, there seems to be a story here, and we think it's probably worth learning a lot more about it and bringing it to you. In the coming weeks, we will. In the meantime, though, the question is, what can we learn from Hunter Biden's plea deal today? First off, the obvious. For the children of the people in charge, there are no penalties. There are only upsides. They're princelings. They can do what they want. You are not. Therefore, you can't. So don't get any ideas about cheating on your taxes or violating federal gun laws unless you want to celebrate next year's Father's Day through the glass in the visitor's room. The rules definitely apply to you, including rules you don't yet know exist. But there is also a deeper lesson here, a more disturbing one. What we're watching through Hunter Biden's life and through the Biden administration, now entering its third year, is the total inversion of virtue. What was once considered admirable is now derided as stupid, if not racist. That would include achievement, intelligence, honesty, self-control, humility. Those are features of the old America. Those were yesterday's virtues. They are gone. In their place, all that we once considered contemptible and repulsive, we're told to worship that now. Here's a small example, but we think a revealing one. In addition to his many other sins, Joe Biden has hired what has to be the single dumbest, nastiest, most dishonest, most ridiculous person he could possibly find for the very public position of White House press secretary. There's a point to it, of course. It was a humiliation exercise. It was designed to degrade the country and dispirit the rest of us. That's the White House press secretary? Shut up! But here's the thing. The White House press secretary herself has no idea why she's in the job. She thinks she's amazing. Here she is in a clip we just saw.
A year in this role, there's been a couple of things that has made me incredibly proud. Many things have made me incredibly proud to be at that podium during this historic moment. Again, this is a historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day.
I'm a historic figure? Imagine saying that. I'm a historic figure, but she does. And she says it in a burst of sincere self-congratulation, marked by her signature bad grammar. Illiterate, but proud. Of course she's proud. Karine Jean-Pierre is now a historic figure, just like Hunter Biden is now an important artist. It makes you feel stupid for going to work.
That tweet has been viewed or partially viewed 13.3 million times. That's 10 million more than MSNBC, the current number one ranked cable news station. Folks, that's going to do it for us June 22nd, 2023. Thanks again for downloading this episode. Please share with a friend, like us, subscribe, leave us a review. We appreciate all that here at Truman's Town Hall.